All right, we're going to try this again. We're going to try to go live again here. See how I sound. I tried to do some things with the microphone, so hopefully it worked and people can hear me now and my voice doesn't sound staticky and bad. That is my hope. That is my hope. So if you are in here and you are listening, please let me know whether or not you can hear me. And if this episode does end up being successful in terms of audio quality, um, and you're watching the replay gang, I was having some mic issues, having some mic trouble, some technical difficulties before this. Hopefully, you guys who are in the chat now can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat. That's very important to me right now. King Blaze says PRP. What up, King Blaze? Spooky J says, yo, what's up, Sutton? What's going on, Spooky J? Flipper says we good. Okay. If we're good, then we're good. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Yeah, sound off in the chat if you're here. Chris B in the chat. What's going on, Chris B? Spencer, what's going on, Spencer? D-Wiz is back. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all for coming through. And again, if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, if you're not watching this live, you're part of the replay gang, shout out to you. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to our channel as well if you do enjoy Ravens content just like this, because there's going to be a lot more just like this coming your way very, very soon. But lots to get into. Obviously, the Ravens pick up their first W of the season against the Cleveland Browns today, winning 41-17 in their home opener, 30th year anniversary of the Ravens. It was great. It was great. I wouldn't say it was all great because there were some, ugly moments in this game. I think the Ravens played a relatively clean game, especially compared to last week against the Bills. But there were some things that the Ravens still do need to clean up. We'll get into that. But we got to start with the important stuff first, right? We got to start with the important stuff first. I want to get into the stats. Because the Ravens actually played pretty well on both sides of the ball. But I'm going to start with the quarterback. Lamar Jackson, 225 passing yards, 4 touchdowns through the air today. He was 19 for 29, had 3 sacks, which kind of frustrated me at times. That Browns defensive line is actually pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie to you. Just the Browns defense in general is pretty damn good, but turnovers is basically what kind of broke the dam open. And that's what Myles Garrett had talked about in his post-game press conference as well. I mean, like, they were kind of hanging tough with the Ravens until those turnovers started to happen. And then it just became an absolute avalanche, which should, again, remind us how important winning the turnover battle is. You guys saw last week against the Bills, the Ravens were destroying the Buffalo Bills, right? Up until that turnover, right? When Derrick Henry fumbles the football, and then it was just an avalanche of just all Buffalo Bills after that. That's what turnovers do. Not only do they give your team the football, or your team giving away the football, but you're basically either taking or giving away momentum with that in a big way. It's not just a point swing, it's a huge momentum swing too. And we saw that today. King Blaze says, I'm still smoking on this Browns pack. Same here, brother. Same here. Same here. Big W today. But let's keep going through these stats here. So, like I said, Lamar Jackson played well. 225 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. And honestly, it was kind of like I don't want to say an off day for Lamar, but like it wasn't like a full, like, MVP level display from Lamar, I would say. I mean, like, we've seen him have better games. And in this game, he played absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he had a 128.6 passer rating, and again, 225 yards. That's not, you know, gaudy numbers exactly, but 4 touchdown passes and 19 for 29. He played a very efficient game. Derrick Henry, 11 carries for 23 yards, averaging 2.1 yards a carry. His longest carry of the day was 8 yards. Had a fumble, didn't lose it, but he did have another fumble today. I think that the Browns, you know, they kind of proved their point about Derrick Henry coming into the week. Grant Delpit was the one who infamously got on the podium at the press conference and said Derrick Henry's not hard to tackle. And today they kind of made good on that promise. You know what I mean? Like they were bottling up Henry left and right. And I think a lot of it is kind of like, Henry is such a polarizing player for opposing teams that like going into the game, it's tricky about how you want to use him if you're Todd Monken. And like, I don't pity Todd Monken's job because I know it's extremely difficult trying to call the right plays at the right time all the time. But I think that again, with Henry being such a polarizing player and him being the main focal point of defensive coordinator's game plan going into a Ravens week, it's hard to kind of get him going because it's so obvious when he's getting the football. You know what I mean? Like first down, second down, if 22 is on the field, anywhere between 70 and 85% of the time, he's probably getting the football. And like you can see teams like literally just selling out to stop Derrick Henry. The Bills did the same thing last week against Derrick Henry, but the difference between the Bills and the Browns is that the Browns defensive line is better than the Bills, like all around, pound for pound. I know the Bills had Ed Oliver who took over that game and kind of wrecked the game for us. They've got Gregory Rousseau. They've got some good players on their line in Buffalo too. But the Browns defensive line, with how stout they are, coupled with the fact that they know this Ravens team very, very well, it's always going to be hard to get Derrick Henry rolling against this Browns team. Honestly, any divisional opponent, but especially the Browns. The Browns have always been stout, run defense. So let me see what you guys are saying here. Henry can't go side to side like Barkley. What do you say? Wait, Rod Wave. What's going on, Rod Wave? Like Barkley, but he can gas you. Yeah, I mean Henry. He's definitely he's just a freight train, right? We all know this. He's not necessarily the best at kind of getting lateral and being dynamic in that sense. It's just like if you get Derrick Henry to the second level with a full head of steam, that's where he shines. And the Browns, I thought today did a really, really good job at making sure that he did not get to that second level. Again, his longest run was for 8 yards. So I thought that the Browns did a very, very good job slowing him down, which posed some challenges, right, for the Ravens in this one. And I was glad that the Ravens had to stand up to these challenges because there will come a time when, the Ravens, knock on wood, hopefully they make it to the playoffs, right? But there will come a time in the playoffs where teams will sell out to stop Derrick Henry early on, and he won't have the early type of success that he had early in that Buffalo Bills game. And you're going to have to pivot offensively and see what else is working. And that's exactly what the Ravens did in this one. Again, they had some aid, they had some help from the turnovers, but I thought that the Ravens did a good job kind of pivoting away from, spamming Derrick Henry to just kind of getting the offense flowing in different ways. The deep ball was really good today from Lamar Jackson. It started off a little bit slow, right? I thought Lamar missed some throws early on, but again, later in that game, he started to, really dial it in. He was really on point, had a couple of deep touchdown passes that we'll get into. Let me see. Rod Wave says, what's up with Justice Hill? He's been bad so far. I think, with a guy like Justice Hill, who today, let me see, Justice Hill, he had 3 carries for 7 yards. 3 carries for 7 yards. With Justice Hill, he just doesn't get opportunities like that. I mean, like they're mainly bringing in Justice Hill on like third down plays for like pass blocking because that's what he's so good at. He's very good at that. But when you're getting 3 carries against a stout Browns defense, like you can't really expect him to do too much. You know what I mean? So he'll get his opportunities, but the stuff that he does, Justice Hill, that is, does not really show up on the stat sheet as much. But you still got to appreciate what he does in the blocking game, pass blocking. Taquan, what's going on? Says, what's up, Sutton in the Rain Gang? What's going on, Taquan? Appreciate you for coming through. Let me see. Myles Garrett might be the best defensive player in the league. Yeah, he definitely had, some moments in this game that kind of worried me. I would definitely say that. I mean, as expected, right? As expected. It's Myles Garrett. He's gonna get his, he's gonna go off. Like you a player like that, all you can do is hope to slow him down, hope to contain him, and hope to, make one more play than a guy like that. And I think that the Ravens did a good job at that, especially down the stretch. The Browns defense kind of tired out a little bit, especially once the Ravens started hitting them with these big over the top throws for touchdowns, and they were turning the football over on offense. I think that the defense just kind of like capitulated a little bit down the stretch of the second half. Like, they kind of knew their offense wasn't really hitting on anything. So it was like, why are we gonna keep, you know, it was one of those things. I think it was kind of like a demoralizing thing and late into the second half. But let's keep going through the stats here. Lamar Jackson had a quiet day on the ground, only 2 carries for 13 yards. I think his first carry came in the third quarter, I want to say. So yeah, not a big day on the ground for Lamar Jackson. Let me see who else. So receiving, Zay Flowers had another good day. 7 catches for 75 yards. I liked what I saw from him. They did run another jet sweep to Zay Flowers. I'm all on the train of get that one out of the playbook. That one is to me at least, pretty unnecessary. That one went for like 3 yards, maybe 3-4 yards. It's just not. It's not a good play. I'm sorry. I mean, Zay Flowers is much more dangerous when you get him in the open field, down the field, in the intermediate area. Get him the football, let him make a guy miss, and let him go ahead and get some more yardage after the catch. That's what you need to be doing with Zay Flowers. And 7 catches for 75 yards. He also missed on a couple of deep shots Lamar Jackson did to Zay Flowers early in the game. These numbers could have been a lot more gaudy from Zay Flowers, but liked what I saw from him. D-Hop, man. Only 2 catches for 64 yards, but he had a touchdown. Could have been 2 touchdowns. That first one that they ruled a touchdown, it was correctly overturned. His knee was down before reaching the end zone. But DeAndre Hopkins, he is, and I think Lamar Jackson is kind of realizing this in real time, that DeAndre Hopkins is the receiver. And and I don't want to say realizing for Lamar, because Lamar already knew this. This is why he called for the Ravens to get DeAndre Hopkins years ago. Right? I think it was like in 2023. He was telling, the Ravens to go get him. But this is what Lamar Jackson has been missing. An outside receiver, an X receiver, right, who's going to win his one-on-one matchups consistently. And you can trust him when you throw the ball downfield that he's going to come down with it, with these 50-50 balls, right? We saw it twice today. Lamar Jackson had rolled out, threw it up, lobbed it up for DeAndre Hopkins, who's in single coverage, which you're going to see a lot of D-Hop in single coverage because you cannot afford to roll coverage his way because you've got a Zay Flowers. You know what I mean? And when Likely comes back, they're going to be even more dangerous, even more multiple. You still got a Rashad Bateman, right, who has been quiet so far this season, I'll admit, as a Bateman truther, but there's so many other things to worry about. And on top of the fact that, your DBs, especially when you're playing zone, you got to make sure you got your eyes on Lamar Jackson because he could always take off. He's always liable to take off. Didn't do too much today, but I say all that to say DeAndre Hopkins is quietly emerging, I think, as, should I say, the most important player? Dare I say, one of the more important players on this Ravens offense. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Lamar Jackson, in 2 games, has developed such a trust, such a chemistry with DeAndre Hopkins that I feel as though we're going to see a lot more of this connection going forward. Like deep ball, third downs, like deep balls. Like if he's one-on-one and Lamar Jackson can get him the football, he's going to get him the football. Like, this is a weapon that even Lamar Jackson is visible on the field. Like after D-Hop makes these big plays, Lamar Jackson is ecstatic because he's like, yo, look, finally, this is why I wanted this guy for so many years on our team. Right? Like, man, I'm so excited for D-Hop, man. I'm so excited for D Hop. I'm hoping, he can stay healthy and things like that as the season wears on. But as it stands right now, D Hop is playing with house money on the offense, man. I mean, he's really got nothing to lose. Again, the defense has to game plan for so much more on this Ravens offense outside of a D Hop that he just kind of gets these one-on-one looks, and Lamar with his backyard football type of style, he's going to throw it up to him. He's going to throw it up to him. If he sees it one-on-one and he sees you have a chance, he's going to get it to you. And DeAndre Hopkins, he's historically been known to always go up, especially when it's one-on-one, and make the play over the defender. Man, I was super impressed with what I saw from DeAndre Hopkins, man. Super impressed. Zeke Okage in the building. What's going on, Zeke? Tisha Brown in the building. What's going on, Tisha? Tila M. What's going on, Tila? I see y'all. How y'all feeling? About 60 people watching live right now. Thank y'all for coming through to this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Dre, my guy Dre is in the house. Dre says people be saying Lamar can't hit the outsides, but he got D-Hop and their connection already looks good. Yeah. I mean, you guys saw the touchdown pass to D-Hop against the Bills in week 1. I mean, over the shoulder, double covered, didn't matter. D-Hop came down with it. And I think that was the point where Lamar Jackson said, oh, I finally have a receiver on the outside. And this is no shade to anybody else, any other receiver on the Ravens in the past couple of seasons, or just in the Lamar Jackson era, period. But DeAndre Hopkins is just a special talent. I mean, we're talking about a future Hall of Famer, damn near. I mean, I think DeAndre Hopkins could make the Hall of Fame. Maybe not first ballot, but I think that D-Hop could definitely make the NFL Hall of Fame. And the skills that he possesses that kind of warrant him to kind of be in that conversation of like Hall of Fame level players, caliber players, those are the type of skills that a Lamar Jackson needs. You know what I mean? Like Lamar is the type of quarterback who, again, it's backyard football. It's go with the flow football. And he has the mobility, Lamar Jackson does, to extend plays, to allow DeAndre Hopkins to get down deep and throw it up to him for these big plays. Like and for a guy to consistently win like that, one-on-one, deep, that's huge, especially at his age. Cannot say enough about D-Hop, man. Dre says, we haven't had this since Anquan Bolden. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Let's move along. So D-Hop had a really good game. Let's talk about Devonte Walker. Let's talk about Tez Walker. Andrew, what's going on? Let's talk about Tez Walker, guys. The man who only catches touchdowns. He has got 3 catches in his NFL career, and he's got 3 touchdowns. Ashley, what's up? I think that I was talking to Coach Evans, Sip to Tally Films, on a previous episode of the show, maybe about a month ago. And he was telling me how he expects Tez Walker, and this was after Tez Walker had that big preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys where he had like 5 catches in the first quarter or something like that. And he was just Cooper Rush's security blanket. And, a lot of us were talking up, bigging up Devonte Walker, like, oh, he could actually he could have a more prominent role in this offense. We could totally see it. Like he's out there catching everything. He's doing everything. He's not just going to be running clear out routes to open up, to free up a Zay Flowers over the middle, or a Mark Andrews, or what have you, like we could definitely see Tez Walker going off, and he went off in this game. I mean, again, only 2 catches, but both touchdowns, right? And both deep touchdowns too. So, I mean, this is another guy who, Lamar Jackson, I think that he really trusts. He really trusts. And the fact that, like, of course, Devonte Walker is not on the field all the time, but when he does get on the field, he's making the most of his opportunities, and that's going to allow him to get even more opportunities with Lamar Jackson, throw him the football. So let me see. Tez separates Crazy. Steve Smith said he was good and he is never wrong about wide receivers and would take someone's job. I've been saying for months that Tez should be playing a lot. Yeah, Tez deserves more playing time, guys. He does. Rod Wave says trade Bateman for O-line help. I don't know about that one. I'm a Bateman truther. You got to slow down. Slow your roll, Rod Wave. Slow your roll. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But no, Tez Walker looked good, man. He looked good. I can't say enough about him. I mean, just the passing game in general, I thought, on a day where the Ravens rushing attack just really wasn't doing anything at all. Again, Derrick Henry, 11 carries for 23 yards, average 2 yards a carry. Justice Hill didn't do anything on the ground. Lamar Jackson didn't even do anything on the ground. This was a game where they solely relied on, the passing game and then also the defense. I mean, of course, we'll get into the defense in a minute here, but just the passing game. Lamar Jackson, very efficient through the air as usual, makes explosive plays when need be. I did think that the offense sputtered a little bit early on. And again, it's just because they were trying to establish the run a lot, I felt like. I took some notes here. I think that the Ravens offense started to open up a little bit more once Todd Monken realized that, like, okay, I can't run Derrick Henry into the Browns defensive line on first and second down like a crash dummy every single possession. You got to mix it up. They came out with a play action boot, I want to say, on one of the drives in the first half. Lamar Jackson completes a pass for a good gain, and that kind of settled the offense in and kind of put the momentum in their pocket a little bit. And that's what I think that this offense needs to kind of learn and do, because like I said at the beginning of the episode, like, it's tricky kind of knowing when and how to use a player like Derrick Henry, a player who's going to be focused on, he's the focal point at the beginning of the game. Like, every defense knows that priority number one, stop Derrick Henry, because what are they going to throw at you first? What are the Ravens going to throw at you first? Always Derrick Henry, number 22. You got to stop him first. That's like the prerequisite. That's the prerequisite to not getting blown off the field by the Baltimore Ravens. The Bills, they failed that test last week, right? Derrick Henry was blowing them out of the water, running them out of their own stadium. However, the Ravens defense, which we'll get into that, I guess now. Well, actually, after one more thing I want to mention. The Ravens defense completely fell apart, and they have another MVP over on that side who was able to take advantage of the defense and come back and win the football game. Let me see. I got to go back and watch the film. So I can check on the line, the offensive line, defensive line. I thought that, again, man, the Browns have a good defense. They have a damn good defense. Like, you cannot scoff at what the Browns are able to do defensively. Now, offensively, they don't have the pieces. They just don't. Joe Flacco in the big 2025 is just not it. It just is what it is, guys, right? But defensively, they're really, really good. But I want to say this before I switch over to the defensive side of the football. Can we talk about Mark Andrews? Can we talk about number 89, Mark Andrews? Mark Andrews today had one catch for 2 yards. And he had a tush push that ended up being a first down. That was it. He had a would-be touchdown right in his arms, but he allowed it, and I'm going to use that word, he allowed it to get punched out. And it was a great play by the defender, just like Terrell Bernard made a great play on Mark Andrews, punching that football out in the divisional game. At some point, I think that the Ravens coaches have to make a decision. And Isaiah Likely is probably gearing up to come back, I would assume, this week against the Detroit Lions. He's already back at practice. He was limited at practice last week. He's probably going to practice in full, I would assume, at some point this week, which means that he's probably going to be a go for Monday Night Football. He gets an extra day of rest because the Ravens don't play on Sunday. So he might play. But I think at a certain point, this Ravens team has to kind of look at Mark Andrews and say, okay, it might be over. This isn't the same guy. And I think this is Mark Andrews' last year in Baltimore. And I know a lot of you guys agree. But I think that this Ravens coaching staff has to kind of, how do I say, just be realistic, because we know the Ravens are so loyal. They're so very loyal to their guys, especially, guys who have been around for a long time, guys who have been good for us in the past. And Mark Andrews, not to say that Mark Andrews is just like ass now, but he feels kind of obsolete in this Ravens offense. You know what I mean? Like, the Ravens have enough weapons at pass catcher, especially with a DeAndre Hopkins now. I know DeAndre Hopkins is not necessarily getting like volume targets to really like, to really be considered like a legitimate top 2 receiving threat on the Ravens just yet. But I mean, he's got 2, what should have been 3 touchdowns already. So maybe he should be. But I say that to say, I mean, Mark Andrews, he just is just not, don't really need him in the passing game anymore. Like we would, like Mark Andrews used to be Lamar Jackson's security blanket. If Mark Andrews wasn't having a good game, then Lamar Jackson was not having a good game passing. That's how it used to be. It doesn't feel that way in the slightest anymore. There's just so many other weapons that Lamar Jackson has at his disposal. I know you guys have a lot to say about Mark Andrews. Let me see what you guys are saying. Let me see. Jabari says Andrews will be fine. The fact that the offense has put up at least 34 points each of the last first 2 games without him and Bateman not doing that much just shows how special this offense can be. That is absolutely true. And again, another reason why I think that, when Likely comes back, Andrews is probably going to be even more quiet. So just be prepared for that. I've got him on my fantasy team. I'm probably going to have to bench him. Got me 1 point today. Got me 1 point. Let me see. Lamar Jackson makes the O-line look better than it actually is. Yeah, that's definitely a Lamar thing. Huge Lamar thing. Let me see. Ashley says, I can't wait until Pat Ricard comes back and Likely. Yeah, like I said, when Likely comes back, man, I don't think that him and Lamar Jackson miss a beat. I don't. I think you're going to see Isaiah Likely be a big part of this offense early on when he comes back, when he returns. I do believe that. Mark is super slow. His hands are suspect. Yeah, man. It just seems like he doesn't. Tila says, can he get any more quiet? He's scared to get hurt again. He's playing careful, says King Blaze. It just, again, I'm just going to leave it at this. Mark Andrews feels obsolete in the 2025 Ravens offense. It feels like he's just no longer a necessity for the ball to move. You know what I mean? Like, again, on a day where the Ravens could not run the ball. The Ravens could not run the ball on the Browns. And like, it wasn't a big tight ends game either. And maybe some of this has to do with the evolution of Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? Because we know a tight end, a really good tight end, is a young, immature quarterback's best friend, right? Because of all the things that a tight end can do. Number one, they can block. Number two, they get out into that second level around like the linebackers where a lot of the times they have it easiest finding the open spot in the zone. And you can just kind of get the ball to them, and they're a good security blanket, right? They're a big body target normally. Normally a pretty big catch radius, depending on your tight end. So, with Mark Andrews, I just feel like he's obsolete, and Lamar Jackson has evolved to the point where he can go anywhere he wants with the football. It wasn't always the case where Lamar Jackson was throwing dimes, like deep ball dimes. It wasn't always the case, but like now it is. I know he started slow today throwing the football, but you saw he was throwing dimes down the stretch of that game, and that's what really blew the game open. I just don't think that he's necessary in this offense anymore. Rod Wave says he's getting 16 mil. Yeah, man. You got to get that contract off the books. Got to get that contract off the books, man. All right. What did the Ravens do with $9 million in cap space after Clowney signed? Says Andrew G. That's a very good question. I think that if there was going to be a free agent that the Ravens pursued and tried to save that $9 million for, it would have been a Jadeveon Clowney, who I believe signed for $6 million. I want to say with the Cowboys today. Yeah, if you didn't know, Jadeveon Clowney is now a Dallas Cowboy. Just signed directly after the Cowboys beat the Giants earlier in an absolute thriller. I watched that game down the stretch too. That was a pretty good one, and Russell Wilson played very well until the very end, until he didn't, which is kind of sucks for Giants fans. And I know this is like a quick aside, but it kind of sucks for Giants fans that they did all that. They fought so hard. Malik Neighbors had a career game, and they lost at the very end. They lost at the very end, but Russell Wilson played very well. So it's like you can't justify benching Russell Wilson for Jackson Dart, because that's what everybody in New York wants right now. Let's get Russell Wilson out of the game and let's start Jackson Dart. But Russell Wilson played a pretty good game. So you're going to have to keep playing him, right? Yeah. Piece of hair in my mouth. Okay. Manuel's Gaming Channel says, what's up, Sutton? What's going on, Manuel? Andrew Sakara in the house. What's going on, Andrew? Moonball Russ. I know that's right. But okay, let's move on to the defense. Right? Defense, I thought today played very, very well. Again, I think that this Browns team, they're not stacked with weapons, right? When we're talking about Jerome Ford, was it Dylan Sampson, and Quinshon Judkins, who made his debut today? Let me see. Yeah, Quinshon Judkins, 10 carries for 61 yards. Jerome Ford, 6 carries for 31 yards. Yeah, I mean, pretty pedestrian on the ground. And then Flacco, 25 for 45, a $199 through the air, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, was sacked twice, had 1 rush for 8 yards. I thought that the defense played very well. I had some notes on the defense because, again, as we know, this game kind of started off slow, but the defense for the Ravens was always kind of, giving the Browns trouble. They were giving them trouble. Early on, I thought that the soft zone coverage that they were playing was giving me like memories of last week against the Bills. Like they were just letting things go underneath to the tight ends, and that was kind of irritating me. I won't lie, but the Ravens they closed that gap a little bit, and they started flying to the ball. Let me see here. I think it was on the Browns' second drive. They forced a 3-and-out. Then LaJohntay Wester had a big punt return. I liked seeing that from him. But then a player I really want to highlight, and I was going to wear his jersey today on this stream, and maybe I'll wear it tomorrow. 71 people watching live, by the way. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for coming through. But Roquan Smith played his ass off today. Played his ass off. I want to go through Roquan Smith's stats really quick. Roquan Smith in this game had 8 total tackles. He had a fumble recovery, and he had a touchdown, right? And let me just say, on that touchdown run, that was the fastest I have ever seen Roquan Smith move. He looked legit like a running back, like the way he was pulling away from guys. Has anybody else seen Roquan Smith move that fast? I've never seen him move that quick. That was insane. But it was also the tackles for losses too that he had. He blew up, I think, a screen play. He blew up a couple of plays where I was just like, wait, who was that who shot into the backfield like that? It kind of reminded me of, like, honestly, like Patrick Queen. kind of reminded me of Patrick Queen, like back in the day, like how he used to shoot through the gap, shoot through the line of scrimmage, and just be like kind of right there at the ball. Roquan Smith was like right there on a lot of plays today, and I was very impressed. I was very encouraged by what I saw from Roquan Smith. Very encouraged. Tila says Roquan said y'all got to stop calling him slow. Yeah, he looked good today. He looked good today. Also, I want to mention Teddy Buchanan got the nod to start over Trenton Simpson. So it seems like the Ravens are favoring Teddy Buchanan, I believe 4th round pick, I want to say, in this past year's draft. They're favoring him over Trenton Simpson, 3rd-year linebacker. So that's interesting developments. We'll have to continue to follow that closely. Got to watch some tape on that. Got to watch the game back and see some tape on everything that Teddy Buchanan did. Let me see. So let me see what else about the defense. What are you guys saying about the defense here? Love West in the building. What's going on, Love West? Says that Marlon dropped interception are the reason good teams get back in games with Ravens. He comes in interviews talking about turnovers and does not come through to make a play. Yeah, so that one was really, really unfortunate. So, Browns are in the red zone. Flacco kind of throws a prayer. Marlon Humphrey is right there to catch it, but it just bounces right off of his hands and right into the Browns receiver's hands for the touchdown. I believe it was Cedric Tillman, if I'm not mistaken. But that was just like, bro, especially after last week when there was the tipped pass, that Keon Coleman caught for the touchdown that really, really like sparked I don't want to say sparked the comeback, but it was just like, it was part of the magic of the comeback, right? Like, and it was just, as a Ravens fan, it just felt like, does this really have to happen to us? And that's what it felt like today. It was just like, really, like, come on. Like, Marlowe knows he's supposed to have that pick. By the way, Marlowe left the game with a groin injury. Harbaugh did say after the game that it was not a severe injury. Kyle Van Noy also left the game with a hamstring in the first half. John Harbaugh also said that was not severe. So we'll have to continue to monitor that. That's how you know football's really back, guys. I mean, but yeah, Marlowe's got to catch that pick. Nate Wiggins, who kind of got picked on last week against the Bills. I think he had himself a nice bounce back game in this one. He had multiple pass breakups, multiple PBUs for Nate Wiggins that I have here in my notes for him. He had a PBU actually the play right before his interception. So he gets an interception. And again, the play before that, he had a nice pass breakup along the sideline. But that interception was honestly everything you want to see from a Nate Wiggins. And I actually predicted in the preview episode of the show with Alex the other day, I said that, my bold prediction was that the Ravens forced 2+ turnovers. And that's exactly what they did. I thought Malachi Starks was going to get one. He didn't. It ended up being Nate Wiggins. I was super, super happy for Nate. Wasn't so happy about him getting hawked down. Not necessarily getting hawked down, but like getting brought down by a lineman of all players. That 4.2 speed that he had coming out of Clemson. I mean, he was running, but I felt like he could have maybe turned the corner and pulled away, man. I really wanted to see a pick 6 right there. He couldn't quite get there, but it's okay. But that's what broke open the game. The defense won this game. I will say that because the Browns were hanging in tough with the Ravens. They were hanging in very, very tough with the Baltimore Ravens in this one. Let me see, because of course there was the fumble by Flacco, but let me see the pick. Let me see here. Which drive was that? So that was 3rd quarter on the Browns' first drive. Yeah. Here's the 10-3, 4th down. So yeah, it was 10-3. I believe it was 10-3 going into halftime, I want to say. Let me see. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was 10-3 at halftime. So the Ravens were only up a touchdown at halftime. But what led to this blowout? It wasn't just deep passes to D-Hop and Tez Walker. It was the turnovers. And again, like I said at the top of the show, guys, we keep getting reminded. We keep getting taught this lesson over and over again, whether we're on the right side of the lesson with a W like today, or whether we're on the wrong side of the lesson like the last 2 games before that against the Buffalo Bills. You got to win the turnover battle. We won the turnover battle. Offense played a relatively clean game, didn't turn it over. Almost did. Derrick Henry fumbled again. Got it back though. But that Nate Wiggins pick and that Tavius Robinson strip sack that led to the Roquan scoop and score, that was everything. That was why the Ravens dominated this game like that. Otherwise, we might have been looking at more of a dogfight, to be honest with you. So again, can't stress enough the importance of turnovers. That is exactly what won us this game. My bold prediction came true. But the defense has to build off of this, right? The defense has to build off of this. And you're playing against an opponent that does not have a ton of talent on offense in the Browns. You know what I mean? As good as Jerry Jeudy kind of is, right? You know what I mean? As good as hell, I mean, I'm drawing a blank here. Browns offensive talent, it's just not really there. They're talking about freaking Harold Fannin Jr., rookie tight end, as being one of their main guys. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, there's not a ton of talent there. But when you're playing up against teams who do have a lot more talent, when you're playing up against a Buffalo Bills, when you're playing up against a Detroit Lions team who are coming to Baltimore next weekend or next week, you have to be a lot more buttoned up, a lot more dialed in, and you cannot have plays like what Marlon Humphrey did, where the ball bounces off of his hands. You cannot have that against teams that are more talented offensively. You just can't. But you got to build on these turnovers. And I love the fact that they got 2+ today. I think it's going to encourage and kind of instill more of a confidence in the defense that they can force these turnovers, because they were just so hard to come by. I mean, last week, couldn't force any. Had a couple near misses, right? But just couldn't quite close the turn. Couldn't force one. The fact that they got 2 today, I think, does a lot for this defense's confidence, and I think that they carry that into the following weeks, or at least I hope so. I hope so. Chat's going crazy tonight. Chat is going crazy tonight. 80 people watching live. Thank y'all for coming through. Big win for the Ravens. Big win for the Ravens this week. O-line was open like legs after midnight. That's crazy. Yeah. So, let me see what else do I have here from this game. Tyler Loop looked good, kicking his field goals again. Has to get better with kickoffs. Tyler Loop does. He's got to improve with his kickoffs, because the field position we've been giving other teams has just not been good. Not been good. But yeah, man, I mean, let me see this. First downs. So Browns have more first downs. Third down efficiency. I didn't even realize this. The Ravens were 3 for 12 on third down. That is horrible. That is horrible. And that really just shows, I mean, those big plays that we got over the top to Tez Walker and D-Hop, those broke the game open too. But even with going 3 for 12 on third down, the Ravens still blew out the Browns. Why? Because they took possessions away from the Browns. Turnovers are everything in this game. And we're going to learn that week to week. I know you guys already know it, but that's going to be the theme of the season. Going in all the way into the playoffs. Can the Ravens consistently turn teams over? That is the key to victory. Always, every single week. Let me see. Time of possession. The Browns actually had 31 minutes of possession. 31 minutes and 49 seconds to be exact. The Ravens had 28 minutes and 11 seconds to be exact. So the Browns had the ball more. They just turned it over. That's the name of the game. Name of the game. So overall, good win for the Ravens. Still some things to improve upon in this game. No doubt about it. Coming from this game, no doubt about it. The Ravens still have to get better in a few areas. Again, they have to continue to build on these turnovers. The offense, I think, has to be a little bit more unpredictable, especially early in games. I feel like they have a hard time getting off to a fast start because they always start the exact same. first and 10 on the very first drive is always going to be a Derrick Henry run up the middle for a short gain most times because teams are going to sell out to stop it. And now you're behind down in distance. You're behind the chains now, right? So now it's a 2nd and 8 or it's a 2nd and 7, and you kind of have to go into the part of the playbook that you don't necessarily want to be in. You want to be in a 2nd and 4. You want to be in a 2nd and 3 situation. So that's why I really liked what the Ravens called coming out of halftime, right? Because they got the ball first. Coming out of halftime, I believe. Let me see. I think I put it in my notes here. Third quarter. Yeah, it was a play action on first down to open the quarter on first and 10, sorry. And it went to Zay Flowers for a big gain. Like that is the type of start you need. Kind of throw them off of what they think the Ravens are going to do because everybody knows you want to give it to Derrick Henry, but I think you have to kind of again give teams more looks. You got to give these teams more looks. So when the next team that we're facing in the following weeks, when they're watching film and they see that, okay, it might not be a Derrick Henry run on first and 10 like we so expect. You know what I mean? Like it might be a play action. It might be this. It might be that. So let's not sell out completely to stop Derrick Henry. And that's when you give it to Derrick Henry on first and 10. And he goes for maybe 5-6 yards instead of 2-3 on first down. Right. So I like that. I think that the Ravens need to be better, with the play calling, early game play calling. That's a Todd Monken thing, obviously. And get rid of the jet sweeps to Zay Flowers. Right after that big gain to Zay Flowers to open the third quarter, immediately after that, they ran a jet sweep, and it went for like 2-3 yards. Get it out of the playbook. Just saying. But yeah, great game for the Ravens. They are on to the Detroit Lions next week on Monday Night Football. The Detroit Lions will be coming to the bank, so that's going to be a very, very exciting one. The Ravens get kind of a long, a little break here. A little break. They do not play next Sunday. They play on Monday night. So a little bit more of a break. Hopefully our guy Isaiah Likely can come back. It's going to be interesting, though. It's going to be interesting because the Lions actually had a big day today. Big day today, blowing out the Chicago Bears, who I think are just, they might be headed for a free fall, man. I'd have to go back and watch that game and see how it really unfolded. But for all the hype that was surrounding them, it might be bad. It might be bad. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. But let's get into a couple of quick hitters here. Other news around the league that I want to talk about before I get out of here. Let's talk about the Bengals. Right? Let's talk about the Bengals really quick because I saw something that Joe Burrow got hurt. And it's been revealed that he has a turf toe injury. And I'm reading this tweet here from Adam Schefter that came out about an hour ago, and it says, images of Joe Burrow's turf toe injury are being sent to noted foot specialist Dr. Robert Anderson to be reviewed. If surgery is deemed necessary, it would be expected to sideline Burrow for 3 months. Burrow was in a walking boot and on crutches after today's game. So here's the thing, guys. The AFC North, and by the way, the Bengals are 2-0. And by the way, after Burrow left the game, Jake Browning came in, and the offense didn't really have too much of a drop-off. Just saying. Just want to put that out there. But the AFC North, I think, just got a whole lot easier for the Ravens to win. If there is no Joe Burrow playing quarterback for the Bengals for 3 months, so what's that, 12 games, that puts him back, at the end of the regular season, like tail end of the regular season. And who knows where the Bengals are in the standing by then. This is devastating news. Devastating news if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Even as a Ravens fan, I never root for anybody to get hurt or anything like that. I want the best players to be on the field. I think that it just makes for a better product, entertainment wise. But man, that really, really sucks. That really, really sucks for Joe Burrow and the Bengals because he is their offense. I mean, like, like I said before, the offense didn't really drop off too much when Browning came into the game. But like I think, of course, down the stretch of the season, if you're missing 12 games, that's going to hurt. That's going to catch up with this Cincinnati Bengals team very, very quickly. They're 2-0 right now, so they've got a little bit of a cushion, right? That they've kind of built for themselves, winning these kind of close games. Won another one today against Jacksonville, but going forward, I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Bengals if there's no Joe Burrow playing quarterback. I just do. And yeah, let me see actually when the Ravens play the Bengals first. Let me see. Ravens schedule. What week is that, guys? What week is that? So, okay, here we are. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so it's not for a little while. It's not for a little bit. Yeah. The Ravens play the Lions, the Chiefs, the Texans, the Rams, the Bears, the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Browns again, the Jets, then the Bengals. And again, if Burrow's to be out for 3 months, then we're probably not going to see Joe Burrow this year, which is crazy. You know. So let me see what you guys are saying. I have Bengals total quarterback on fantasy, so I get Jake Browning. I don't know what the hell to do. Yeah, if you had Joe Burrow, man. And that's another thing. Kwame B says that boy stay hurt. That is kind of true. I mean, out of the 4 horsemen, right? Quarterbacks, out of the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, you know what I mean? Like the top 4, the Mount Rushmore of current quarterbacks. Burrow is the least available one, if we're being honest. Like he's the least available one, and I think that definitely does hurt his stock. Of course, you don't want to necessarily penalize a guy for being injured, but you guys know the saying. Your best ability is availability. And if you're not available, then it's kind of like a nothing burger. If you're not, it's a what have you done for me lately league. And if he's not going to play for 3 months, that's going to hurt his stock. It's gonna go down. Somebody might leapfrog him. If Justin Herbert, if Justin Herbert goes out there on Monday Night Football tomorrow night and looks damn good against, I think they play the Raiders. I want to say, if he goes out there and he looks anything like he looked against the Chiefs last week, and he looks really good, people might slowly but surely start to take Joe Burrow out of those conversations and insert Justin Herbert, even though he still hasn't won a playoff game. We know how much the league, how much the media and the narrative makers want him to be good. So Burrow's got to watch out, man. Burrow's got to watch out. He's got to watch out. Let me see here. What else we got? Before I get up out of here for the night. Ashley says not Herbert. It might be Herbert. Might be Herbo. Telling you. Bills had another good game. They had a little scare with Josh Allen getting hit in the face, but he came back after 2 plays and they blew out the Jets 30-10. I was hoping that the Jets, it being a divisional opponent and things like that, will put up a better fight. But, I mean, the Bills in the 2020s are like the Patriots in the 2010s for the AFC East. You know what I mean? Like, just there can only be one really good team at a time in that division for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just how it is. So the Jets fall to 0-2. The Bills are 2-0. Josh Allen had a pretty regular game through the air. 14 for 25, 148 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Josh Allen also ran 6 carries, 59 yards. James Cook had himself a day, 21 carries for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a game-breaking run that I know most of you guys have probably saw. But the Bills are looking like one of the best teams in the league right now. I will say that. I'll be completely honest with you. It's between the Bills, I'd say the Packers, the Eagles, of course. I think that the Ravens are still up there. The Ravens still just have some little kinks to work out here and there in order for them to truly, truly be considered one of the top teams in the league right now. The Rams looked good today again. They took care of business against the Titans on the road, beat them 33-19. I still have faith in Cam Ward. I think that he'll, develop as a quarterback in this league. And he had some bright spots. Just like he had some bright spots last week, he had some bright spots today too. Matthew Stafford played himself a good game, almost 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Puka Nacua had a good game as well. Had a rushing touchdown, carry for 45 yards, which was crazy. And Puka also had 8 catches for 91 yards. Meanwhile, Devonte Adams has 6 catches for 106. So Matthew Stafford is really just dealing to, receivers, young and old alike, on his team. And their offense looks scary. Their defense looks scary. I really like what I'm seeing from the Rams, for sure. For sure. Let's talk about the Steelers, right? Let's talk about the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, after having an amazing debut as a Steeler, Aaron Rodgers did last week. Kind of a pedestrian day for good old A-Rod, right? So 18 for 33, 203 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Aaron Rodgers is not really known historically for throwing picks, but he threw 2 in this one. Let me see. Let me see here. One thing I did take away from this game, some of the touchdowns, like DK Metcalf had a touchdown in this one, just bodied his guy one-on-one. Darnell Washington, I think he caught a 2-point conversion, I want to say, or he might have had a touchdown. I can't remember. Let me see. Darnell Washington. Where is he on the stat sheet here? He had a catch. I don't know why he's not on the stat sheet here. That's weird. But I don't know, just the size. Something worries me about the Steelers and the size that they have at pass catcher with a Darnell Washington, with a DK Metcalf. I can just see the Ravens getting bullied down low, like in the red zone, and of course the Steelers defense is going to keep things tight normally with the Ravens. I could just see that being an issue down the road. The Steelers did get kind of blown out today, again, because turnovers for one. And also there was the Caleb Johnson just complete mental breakdown that he had on the kick return where, I guess he just didn't know the rules. He touches the football and then he just lets it bounce behind him and into the end zone. And the Seahawks players just run right by him. They fall on it and it's a touchdown. And the Steelers were already losing at that point. And that kind of just, I think, broke the game open a little bit in a few ways. So yeah, man, the Steelers 1-1, Ravens are 1-1. That was good. I mean, honestly, when you think about it, the entire AFC North, besides the Ravens, took a loss today. And I know the Bengals won, but with Burrow going down, that's a loss, right? Let's call it what it is. So it was a bad day for everybody else in the AFC North except for the Ravens, as the Steelers got taken care of at home against the Seattle Seahawks. The Denver Broncos dropped a close one to the Indianapolis Colts where, let me see, Bo Nix, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 206 yards. But I heard there was some I follow a couple of Broncos fans on Twitter, and some of them were not pleased. They were not pleased with Bo Nix's performance. So I have to go back and check that one out. But J.K. Dobbins had himself a pretty decent day, 14 carries, 76 yards, averaging 5.4 carry and a touchdown in that one. But the Colts do edge it out. The Colts did edge him out in that one. Let me see what else. Anything else of note? Oh, yeah, the Eagles. The Eagles beat the Chiefs again. So what's going on, Jing? One of our members in the house. Appreciate you for coming through. But the Chiefs are 0-2, guys. They're 0-2. And, they kind of get I don't want to say a softball or a layup next week because they play the Giants. And I believe it's in New York too. But they're 0-2, and they've got the Giants next. And then, as you guys know, after the Giants, they've got the Ravens. I don't it's going to be tough, man, for this Chiefs team to contend for the number 1 seed, because the Bills right now, they are really pulling ahead of everybody else. The Bills right now are in the driver's seat, and fully in the driver's seat. I mean, you think about the AFC right now, the landscape of the AFC. Chiefs are 0-2. Ravens are 1-1, but you just beat the Ravens, so you hold the tiebreaker over them. You have a patty cake schedule if you're the Bills for the rest of the year, pretty much. Every other hard game that you got to play is at home. So, I mean, unless like I guess the Chargers or and again, Bengals are 2-0, but Burrow's now hurt. He's gonna be out 3 months, most likely. The Bills have it made right now. High key. The Bills have it made right now. Um, so yeah, man, it's great week, great day of football overall. I think that the Sunday night football game is probably wrapping up now as we speak. Let me see. Did that game end yet? Let me see. Yeah, it's wrapping up now. Falcons blew out the Vikings in what looks like it was probably a snoozer. 22-6. You know, so much for the JJ McCarthy hype, right? But yeah, overall, a good day of hoops. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed watching the Ravens get their first W, man. And there's some things again that they have to build on. That I think that they have to continue to really, really emphasize forcing turnovers, because you're not always going to be playing a team that is not as, or a team that's deficient in offensive talent like the Browns. You're going to be playing like next week. You're going to be playing the next 2 weeks, to be honest with you. You're going to be playing a lot more offensively talented teams. So continue to force those turnovers, right? And then the play calling on offense, I just think needs to be a little bit less predictable early on, because again, everybody's main objective as the game starts is to shut down Derrick Henry first and foremost. So if you kind of throw teams off a little bit, right? I really like the play action, things like that. If you kind of add a little bit more of those wrinkles into the offensive play calling, I think that the Ravens offense can take that next step. But yeah, overall, good day of hoops. We will be back tomorrow. For the review episode of the show. Me and my guy Simply AS10. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys like this video. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new. I see some new faces here in the chat. If you're not already subscribed to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell, because we're going live. Like, you guys know me, right? I'm live at like sometimes the most random times. You know what I mean? I want to do I want to do these live streams every week, every Sunday night after, the Sunday night football game and all that, kind of like how I did last week. So you can pretty much expect me to be live around this time every Sunday night. But let me see. Kwame says we got to review the O-line. Yeah, once the All 22 comes out, which it should come out, I want to say maybe in the morning, maybe midday, I'll start to kind of look at that footage and we can go over it together. But yeah, we will be back tomorrow again. So make sure you stay tuned in for episode 334 of the Purple Rain Podcast. W stream, we out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. You guys know the drill. Stay positive, test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This has been another episode of Quiet Storm Sports as a part of the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel /network. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.